Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webcast today, another webcast in our Transform Your Business webcast series. Today's webcast is Improve Occupant Comfort with Digital Workplaces of the Future. Now, let me go over a few housekeeping rules today. My name is Amanda Gordon. I'm the Senior Marketing Programs Manager here at Iconics. And on this webcast, you are in a listen-only mode. That means if you have any questions, you'll want to type them into the GoToWebinar panel question section, and we'll answer those at the end of the webcast. You can also email us at webcast@iconics.com with any questions. Now, let me introduce you to our presenters today. We have three people presenting for us today. First will be Gary Court, VP of Solution and Services here at Iconics in our Foxborough, Massachusetts headquarters office. We also have Clive Walton, the Managing Director of Iconics UK. And then we have Andy Dyke, the Intelligent Buildings Director, also in our UK office. And with that, we'll turn things over to Gary to get us started.
Thank you, Amanda. Okay, to start off today, I'm going to give you a very brief update or overview of Iconics, and then we'll get into the presentation content. Iconics, we have been a provider of automation and analytics software for almost 35 years now. We are a global company. We work through almost 400 partners around the world. We're a Microsoft Gold partner and work very closely with Microsoft. We focus on four major parts of the market: smart buildings and smart cities, discrete and factory automation, process automation, and public and defense infrastructure, airports, train systems, many different type of DoD applications also. Just showing in some of these vertical markets that make up these different major areas. And of course, for the most majority for this presentation, we're going to be talking about buildings. Now, in the smart building space, the Iconics focuses on the following value propositions. We bring software that allows you to optimize and lower your total energy costs by providing you command and control operations and analytics over HVAC, lighting, electrical, your domestic water consumption. And of course, in doing that, we help improve your sustainability. Our software is used to achieve the goals of optimal comfort for all of your tenants and your employees. And our software now is often used to optimize your spaces, to your space utilization and your space density. So ultimately, you have less space that you have to lease or purchase. We do this across many different spectrums, from airports, that is representation of an airport gate, to conference centers, to commercial office space, to retail space, tenant space, and we do this across the world. The applications that our software is being used to implement, once again, energy management, centralized and distributed building operation across huge portfolios and campuses, predictive analytics, integrating in all of the parking, the space utilization, all of the different components of the building, and then now being used to provide navigation, meeting, and workspace management. Just a brief sampling of some of our 50,000 installations today. As you can gather from this, our focus tends to be on the large. We are what is the company that is brought in. We are hard spec for all energy, all HVAC management, all occupancy in the U.S. Pentagon. We have huge office portfolios across Singapore, some of the largest corporate campuses. Microsoft is one of both our partner and our user. We are used in all Microsoft buildings across the world. Department of Defense, enormous retail. So if it's large scale, integrating many sites together, or very large sites, this is the sandbox in which we play. Uh, our software is used at scale to build the control centers that are used to manage large corporate portfolios. So we bring all of this data together for remote experts to be able to manage their buildings across the world. We, of course, provide workstations and local user interfaces for the chief engineers in the buildings. And toward the latter part of our presentation, we're going to be showing some of our tenant engagement apps that our team will be presenting, operating from a phone or tablet. In order to accomplish this, we have to interface to everything in your buildings and do that with the least invasiveness as possible. Iconics built into our platform is the highest level of compliance for most of the industry standards. All of the typical building standards, Modbus, BACnet, we can talk directly to. We are fully delivering projects around the world now, acquiring data via MQTT and AMQP, known as the IoT protocols. Web services, we have Kafka feeds coming into us, bringing us data. Any combination of these, most important is adopting to what you already have in place to help you achieve this at the lowest possible cost. And through those protocols, all of your BMS systems, your metering systems, your PLCs, if you have chiller plants and so forth, we have jobs now where we're interfacing into some of the new sensor services that are coming to market, where you don't have direct access to your sensor. You buy a web service, cloud service from them to access this data. We have those integrated on multiple sites. Bringing all of this data in, all of the building systems, what Iconics brings to market is the Iconics Building Operating Platform, the BOP. That is our overall software platform. That the Iconics solution can be installed on premise on your servers. It can be installed in your corporate data center. It can be installed in the cloud, and any combination of the above. We have edge devices where they can run on site and move the data into the cloud. We have sites where we're doing on-premise installations with backup redundancy into the Azure cloud. So any hybrid combination that best fits your business. And from that platform, we have all of the monitoring and data analysis applications that we furnish to run on top of that. A little bit more detail of the platform, and I want to hit some of the key components here. Built into our software stack, our platform is alarm management, data historian, AssetWorks, which is our digital twin technology. Those two combine for all your assets, your HVAC equipment, your desktops, your spaces. With that, we keep the current state in continuous compressed historical state for everything happening within the asset. A workflow engine to do automated workflow across your site. Analytics BI is our business intelligence engine that data models your data, that I'll spend some more time on and show examples. And then very important, to do this at scale, you need applications that can automatically load balance across multiple servers and services. And a lot of what we do is we do a lot of very mission critical sites where redundancy is important. By bringing all that data together, we provide mechanisms. We provide the ability to central manage, and very important, to centralize and disseminate your expertise. Very few companies can afford today to put a master's degree mechanical engineer in every building. You have a limited number of experts that you need to have help you best operate buildings across your portfolio, you have to bring that data all into a center for them. This is a large campus operating center. This is a large corporate real estate operations center where they manage their space, their electrical, their HVAC, and optimize and dispatch work orders across their portfolio using Iconic software. Touching on some of the specific applications, one of those applications that's within the stack is our fault detection and diagnostics. This is it provides predictive and expert applications to continuously commission your equipment, looking at both historical, current, and projected data. This is one of the functions used to greatly reduce overall, to optimize operation and reduce energy cost. I'm going to give you a very brief example. This is a capture of a customer system. These are live faults coming in. This was actually on yesterday. As I move through this very quickly, you can just see all the different types of faults and commissioning activity going on and real life instances coming in. At any point, I can select one of these, and this one I'm selecting a hunting economizer damper. I can jump in, analyze that, very quickly move through. As you can see, the damper definitely is not tuned properly. The control is not tuned. It's sitting there hunting back and forth and affecting the supplier temperature. I can quickly look over to the left, see the logic, see the equations, the probable causes and probable solutions. I can vector at any point of there to effectively the digital twin of that piece of equipment, seeing the current state. I can look at the long-term history going back for years for that equipment. Basically providing all current and historical information related to that particular asset. Here I'm just jumping back and looking at a month, so I've looked at all my historical data, my events, going back and looking at everything that's a problem with that piece of equipment, and then doing analysis of all the different issues of what's the typical causes and kind of the pie chart of what types of things have been happening with that equipment. On some jobs, we also have all the work order data coming in, so you can see all the type of maintenance that has occurred over the last X amount of time, and that digital twin of that piece of equipment or that asset. Jumping in and showing an example of our Analytics BI, our building intelligence engine, which is a data modeling tool that can model any relationships between current and historical data. This is a very quick example. I am monitoring, in this case, this is for Carmex, I'm monitoring about 1,200 air handler units across the country. As I look through, I have various data. These are all the rooftop units. As I move through here, in this case, I'm looking at all the rooftop units. I'm doing an analysis of all the zones they affect and how many of those zones are uncomfortable over the last day. I can have it set a day. I can do week, month, or any time frame. So as you can see in this particular air handler, all 24 hours, the last 24 hours were uncomfortable on that particular unit, and going down, looking for this equipment also has rules running against it, but we're also providing insights so their managers can look for other abnormalities. So I'm looking for uncomfortable areas. I'm going to narrow down and just look at all rooftops installed on buildings in Florida. All of these should generally be at the same outdoor air temperature. But in this case, I just sorted average cooling load as the actual percentage time that compressors are running on those units. So, it brings up the question, why do I have certain rooftops where the compressor is running 90% of the time? So providing insights so smart building engineers can look and very quickly identify problems, abnormalities. In this case, I'm looking at fan cycles. Obviously, when I have 60, 70, 60, 40 cycles occurring, I'm tearing that equipment apart. Somebody probably has the deadband set too low in the thermostat, or the thermostat is too close to the exhaust, to the output. But all of this data is being modeled in memory at a very high speed so that I can sort through it and have it create insight for me. One last example of creating insight across a campus, in this case at New York University. We're doing comfort analysis. We are looking across all zones, across all buildings. The green is showing the percentage of all my space in these buildings that is within plus or minus 1 degree of set point, or what is comfortable. Blue is those that are colder. Red is those that are hotter. So I'm looking, and I'm not doing terrible, but I could be doing better. If you go through here and look, at any point 61, 70, only 60% of my rooms are comfortable. At any point, I can vector down and find all those particular terminals or those zones. I can quickly go through looking. This is showing the deviation from set point, what are the worst offenders, and the worst offenders are the most uncomfortable spaces. And from here, I can vector quickly down to the actual twin of that piece of equipment, all the data. I can go to the reference systems. I can go to it automatically points me to the floor plan and the heat map of where that piece of equipment is and what room. And the bluer the color here, the colder it is. This customer green is always comfortable. Anything that's bluer or redder is the hot, the more away it is from comfortable. So just showing, immediately jump into a heat map to analyze that situation. Yeah, so those are some examples of fault detection and diagnostics, analytics BI. So just summarizing, we provide software that provides centralized command and control and the ability for any of your people to access, be it from the control room, be it from their iPad, from their phone. We create KPIs, metrics for your business to operate, and for you to set your own, and your outsourced facility management firms set goals for them to achieve. Alarm management, connected field services to distribute those alarms and events out to your people. Analytics, FTD, energy performance. Now, what we're going to switch the remainder of our presentation, we're going to move in, and we're going to talk about smart workspaces, room reservation, basically engagement of tenants and the tenants that the workspaces they occupy. So with that, we're going to switch over to digital workspaces, and we're going to introduce Clive Walton, who will take it from here.
Well, thank you very much, Gary, and I'm delighted to join this session this afternoon, and I'm so pleased to see so many join us today. This is a really exciting topic for solutions for Iconics. Having been at Iconics for over 30 years, the emergence of intelligent buildings and the type of opportunity that this presents to us is phenomenal. When we talk about intelligent buildings, we're talking about not just commercial real estate. We're talking about all different types of facility and buildings, and the whole essence that there is in an intelligent or a smart space is to connect those different subsystems that are flowing through that built environment and bringing it back into a common platform that allows us to be able to drive benefits and actionable insights and supporting change to those organizations to drive value and benefit, not just to the organization itself, but to the users of that space. And so what we want to try and do this afternoon is focus a little bit of our attention upon how we do that and the benefits and the use cases that are driven from this approach. Now, Gary has talked about the building operation platform. This is really what that is all about. Historically, we have connected to those subsystems within those facilities through a point-to-point method, which was fine. I think when Gary showed you the overview of the use cases, we did Terminal 5 at London's Heathrow Airport probably 15 years ago. We did it through a point-to-point linkage, which is fine, but unfortunately it comes with lots of challenges when any of those subsystems have a change made to them. It's a very hardwired link between the two or the multiple different subsystems, and that creates a lot of overhead for maintaining and managing the system. And also it doesn't allow you the flexibility to really ingest the metadata that comes from a lot of those subsystems. So what we've done in Iconics around the world, and the UK have come up with a concept which we're referring to as intelligent building software stack, which is a normalized data digital twin that is pre-built with a data model that allows all of those subsystems within the built environment to be able to be fed into a very normalized and very structured hierarchy. And that's the key element of driving intelligence in a building. Is only as good as the data sources you have. And that might mean that we're connecting to legacy systems, not ripping and replacing. It might mean that we might need to install additional IoT sensors to enhance the types of use case and experience we want to generate from the platform. But the whole aspect is you need to firstly agree what you want to drive by way of the use case outputs before you can decide what subsystems you need to connect to. And this is where the data digital twin piece really comes into its own. We are creating a representation digitally of all of the assets within the built environment, and being able to overlay on top of that the necessary metadata that will be required to drive the use case outputs. So for example, you may have a meeting room, but if the meeting room isn't connected to its room booking system, and the room booking system isn't connected to the ability to be able to monitor whether someone's in that room, then you are limited to how much intelligence you can drive through to the users. And so the whole data digital twin is about creating a very robust and quantifiable set of hierarchies that allow us to be able to represent those spaces and those assets within the building to be able to drive the intelligence. Here's a little infographic that kind of gives an overview of this. You've got a room 1501, and inside of that we are mapping in the data digital twin all of the relevance to that space, to the assets, the fan call units, the lighting, the tables, the occupancy sensors. They're all being merged back into the data digital twin in the Iconics intelligent building platform stack to be able to drive those outputs. And we're going to show you some real world examples of this as we go through into the presentation in a few moments with Andy. But this slide is really important. There are lots of different outputs that the platform can provide. Some of them are user experience and productivity based. Some are around operational excellence, and others are going to be there for management insights. So user experience is, I'm a tenant within the building, I'm an employee within my office. I actually want productivity tools to help me find a meeting room, locate I don't know, a coffee machine or a printer or a fax, being able to have a better experience and user interaction with the comfort of the space that I'm residing in. All of those things, those outputs, are only possible if the data for those subsystems are available to the platform. So we're seeing in the market lots of companies talking about app development, but don't actually have a back end, a platform, that BOP, you know, the operating platform that Gary's spoken of, to be able to leverage that data easily. And that's really what Iconics is focusing on. Operational excellence would be probably more down to do with how the building is performing, and Gary showed you some lovely examples of that. And management insights would be more in line with how is that space being utilized? Are my meeting rooms really being utilized at a level that I want? Are there certain spaces that are being used more than others, and the staff are gravitating towards one area rather than another? And all of those insights, those data-driven outcomes, are all the things that the intelligent building platform provides. It allows us to do mobile user apps, to stand up those apps on top of the platform, kiosks within receptions areas, or maybe on by the side of lift elevators where you're coming out. You then want to find a room or find the space that you're looking for, find a colleague. In building signage to be able to be notified of events and things taking place, and in-room digital control panels, which we're going to show you in a minute. So all of those are the use case outcomes that are so easy for us to stand up on top of the platform once the platform has been installed. Typical architecture for this, as you can see, we've got the ability to, as Gary talked about, all of that strong inbuilt connectivity to the Iconics standard platform that we have. It's all there. You can do it on-prem, on the edge. We can feed the relevant data up into the IBS cloud platform. That gives us that very linear and scalable experience to go not just from a single building, but also to many buildings across the global campus. So it's a really exciting topic. We are really thrilled to be leading the way. We've done many projects of high intelligence, from global financial institutions, corporate headquarters, to co-working spaces similar to WeWork. We've done a bunch of offices in London for Fora Space, and allowing that flexible working space from a company that really need to drive benefit from seeing how their spaces are utilized. And even recently, with Deloitte's ability to be able to, in their London headquarters, 1 New Street Square, to track people through the building. And just think about that in the light of what we're facing with COVID-19. Wouldn't it be great to be able to see if there was a repetition of what we've experienced in this year, that we wanted to track? Where had people been? Who had they collaborated with? What parts of the building had they visited if a diagnosis was found, and we could clean those spaces, we could isolate and ring fence those colleagues and those workers that they'd come into contact with. So just setting it at the high level, that's really what we wanted to talk about and show. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into the platform now. I'm going to hand over to Andy to talk about some of those outcomes of the digital workspace and the benefits that it gives to the tenants working in that space. Over to you, Andy.
Thank you, Clive. Sorry, everyone, for a second there, stumbling around trying to get the presentation going. Just double checking, Clive, the transition worked well there.
Perfect.
Thank you. So, yeah, great. Thanks, Clive. Super excited to expand on this sort of showcase for the attendees. And I suppose to bring it back to the focus and topic of outcome focus against commercial real estate as a background. And to summarize some of what Clive's been discussing there, moving from digital foundations, which the Iconic stack is so brilliantly placed for, this transitioning of loose, unstructured data into very structured and scalable asset infrastructure, not only for equipment, but for spaces as well. And building on that digital foundation to align against these outcomes for user experience, the productivity of business, how to drive those operational teams to an optimal performance and gain the right level of insights. We've got a load of standard tool sets that stand up on top of that stack in a really scalable fashion. So back to Clive's point, not apps that are hand cranked to one-off point-to-point type integration data, but really scalable to recognize and self-recognize changes that may have occurred in the back-end system to update room names, room structures, what data sources are available, and render that through to the right user interfaces that are designed with intent and purpose to the users in which these apps or user interfaces are in place for. So to move and transition into that, what does it look like for that sort of app environment for the workspace? So from a user experience perspective, we focus in three areas. So we facilitate the mobility of staff to move around the building. We call our app Roma, and the application will allow organizations to control what users and their members of staff can access or not, or which buildings or which level of data, but will stand up lots of different use cases, which I'll talk to in a minute, to aid their day in a life in their building stock. Similarly, when arriving into spaces, we have apps that stand up on fixed location tablets. We call these apps Unity, on the play on words that they unify the applications of maybe lighting control and so on in a common space. Again, I'll talk to this in a minute. And finally, Inspire, to inspire choice and workplace selection from either interactive or non-interactive kiosks. So some of the use cases that are aligned to these applications are wayfinding, finding their way around a building, to find a meeting room, to actually understanding where they are in a building, to where that is, or it might be in between buildings or on campus. To reserve space, to find desks, finding desks by the metadata of the desk. It might be they want to find a height adjustable desk, or they might have a preference over a certain type of room that they're looking for, to be able to search for that metadata cleanly in one app, not only for desks, but for the room booking and all spaces, we should add. Amenity information, so understanding what's in the building from a wayfinding perspective. So what's actually here. So so many staff wanting to get more engaged with the building from a more playful aspect in terms of what catering facilities do we have? What's the gymnasium? How busy is the gym? When does the gym get busy? What's the bike parking spaces? Where do I go to where's my car parking facilities, and so on and so on, and having that information all within that unified interface with dynamic information. It's not just serving up public announcements as such. It's serving up dynamic information that would tell someone what the patterns are of availability, or the gym is busy on a Friday afternoon, and give them real-time information as well. Also finding colleagues. So a lot of our clients are moving to agile working to really sweat hard their real estate space. As people move around building and have that agility to choose where they want to work, come the complexities of finding colleagues. So providing that ability to group and team people together within those agile workspaces, we have the facility within these apps to do colleague finding. And of course, the million-dollar question around data privacy always crops up on this subject area. So to head that off, we have a number of wayfinding engines that run, and our clients are able to condition those wayfinding engines to align to their GDPR policies or compliance. And that wayfinding engine not only handles data privacy, but is also handling probability of accuracy of data. So it's blending sources of information from things like access control, room booking, maybe indoor positioning off of mobile devices to Bluetooth beaconing, blending that data together, running it through the rules engine to confirm the user's location or probability of user's location for the purpose of colleague finding. Productivity scheduling. If we know that you have a meeting in meeting room 1 and your next meeting's in meeting room 10, there's 10 minutes or 20 minutes between it, and you want to just touch down somewhere to open your laptop to catch up on emails, we integrate to Office 365. We can spot the gaps between meetings. We know where someone is, and we know where those meetings are in the building, and we make recommendations to say, hey, do you want a touch down desk? It's in this location. It's right by your meeting rooms. So to really push the productivity for the staff within the building. Excuse me, just taking a sip of water there. And providing information back. So rather than running draconian policies of thermal comfort in a space, actually giving people choice and creating thermal zones within a building and promoting that information, making transparency, making transparent the data that underpins the way the building is performing, or selected zoning within the building, and giving people choice. Funnily enough, by doing so, reducing hot and cold complaints that might occur in the building. And then providing contextual control. So if I've got Bluetooth beaconing in my meeting rooms, for example, the meeting host can adjust the lights, can undertake temperature control adjustments, or call catering requests from their mobile app. Similarly, the fixed tablet on the wall. Incorporating workplace guides, so advising someone of the ergonomics of how to use a desk, or maybe the instructions of how to use AV equipment. And then report an issue within that space. So there's a spill or there's an AV fault, to give people the ability to report it directly from that same unified interface and app, and ensure that the data that's presented back to the operational teams is structured, it's specific, it's accurate, it's telling them where the location is so they can respond in a really lean manner. And then, of course, also providing general messaging. We've got a wine event going on a Thursday afternoon. Let's message our team. So our use cases around that sort of user experience app environment is to make everyone have that sort of sensation of being in a really well-oiled digital environment that's akin to what we have outside of the workplace in our home lives.
Excuse me, Andrew, are your slides supposed to be changing? We've all been on one slide called use cases.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll move them on. Thank you,
okay,
Gary.
They just changed. Okay, I thought maybe we could have.
No. So to drill into these in a little bit more detail, so the workplace apps are giving that flexibility of providing catering adjustments and adjusting the preferences that we might have, so it enables the back-end engines to now start making those recommendations and allowing the users to integrate into the building and the services to undertake their day in a life within that building space from a mobile application. Similarly, from the wayfinding kiosks, having that ability to either interact or non-interact with the kiosk. It might be that we want no dwell time in lift lobbies, as Clive mentioned. You don't want everyone having to go to a screen in that area, but you might want that on a workplace floor, and we'll talk to that scenario in a minute. And then from an operational perspective, and coming back to a lot of the subject areas that Gary's talked of, having this data in a really structured format against the spatial model is not only rendering benefit and outcome based on the workplace productivity and user experience, but also allowing us to monitor the endpoints of that digital system in the building through device management, to apply our workplace services teams that lens to see the relevant KPIs and interactions that are going on in the building, and to then analyze the productivity of the space. So Clive touched on this earlier. If we have a number of different meeting rooms, some are 4-person, some are 8-person, some have AV equipment, some don't. Maybe some are slightly warmer, and that's why they haven't been used. To blend that data together and give the analytics tools to the workplace analytics teams to understand their spaces, to understand whether they need more smaller meeting rooms, whether they want larger meeting rooms. We give that visualization very specifically cleansed to give them the insight they need to understand the utilization of their workspace. So moving on, we have a number of screens that I'm going to dance by because we're going to touch them really in our success story. So Deloitte 1 New Street Square is a building in London, part of a campus, and the client, Deloitte, when planning this space, set out clear objectives for digital transformation. They wanted to achieve real estate optimization. They wanted to address and make lean business productivity, and they wanted to give operational efficiencies to the way that they were running the building. Their starting point was that 45% of their offices and 30% of their desks have been identified as underutilized in older building stock and achieved through point-in-time surveys. As such, they were seeking to fit 5,500 people into just 3,500 workspaces in this building. And they were seeking to prevent staff rotation, attracting and retaining talent, as well as meeting the expectations of younger workforce and the changing staff demographics. They were setting to provide more flexible working environment, so with a choice of formal and informal work and meeting spaces. And to help staff engage with this sort of building flex, they needed to engage in digital wayfinding and collect granular data around the success of the way that spaces were being carved out in the building. At Iconics, we were extremely proud to be part of the project, and our data digital twin is at the core of this digitally transformed space. The building was the UK's first to award both BREEAM Excellent and WELL Gold, and won also the BCO National Fit Out 2019 award last year. So begs the question, what have we done inside this space? So the next slides will step through some of those actual deliverables, let's say, that were inside the building. So to start off with, Gary's talked heavily on this point. How do we create a better user experience inside the building? Well, it starts off with by operating the building better. And the more data we have, the more we can understand how the HVAC performance is serving that building. So they deployed a granular IoT sensing network of which we integrate all the data into our spatial models. It came from an array of different sensor types because we're agnostic to the hardware, which is a benefit, and allowed us to provide heat mapping at a fine grain resolution throughout the building so they could start running FDD and generating predictive and diagnostic service models against the data sets. On arrival, the staff were provided Inspire kiosks, providing non-interactive at-a-glance data to help them inform of choice of workplace. So users were able to at a glance see workspace availability from multi-purpose rooms to core and flex in the workplace floors, and to understand the environmental conditions that were in that building. Although this graphic doesn't show it, thermal zoning was deployed, so they had certain floors that were cooler, that were complete agile working, other floors that were warmer, allowing people choice as they arrived to at a glance, without a mobile phone, select an agile workspace floor that's at the thermal comfort that they would rather be at. On arrival to the workplace floor, they're then able to interact with the Inspire kiosks, and they're able to search for specific rooms. They might have be attending a meeting that's scheduled for a particular space. They can find that with ease. If they want to find a particular height adjustable desk, they could filter through, and the dots are dropping off the screen and calling out the information that they're looking for. Equally, this type of capability is digitized in the back end and can be rendered in different UIs. Okay, once they're actually into the meeting rooms, we had our Unity apps running on hardware on these fixed tablets, and that was giving the users unified controls of room booking, temperature, and lighting, and in very specific rooms, also added the ability to do catering features, catering commands, so call for coffee refresh, or call for the fact that the room is in need of a clean, for example, from a coffee spill. Save interrupt the meeting, is all in one common consistent user interface. The mobile applications, of course, are feeding off that same data set. So with the structured data in the back end, as we keep coming back to, we're able to stand up these applications on top of that data set really easily and scalable, and they've got in their roadmap as they digitize further across their portfolio in the campus, the ability to attach applications straight on top of it to provide that sort of contextual information and personalize some of the wayfinding experiences inside the building. From an operational excellence perspective, they were then able to consider the fact that they wanted to collect and normalize data from multiple buildings to start achieving the operational optimization consistently across building stock. And again, back to Gary's point of being able to consume data from multiple sources, these building stocks were of different ages, different BMS systems, different lighting control systems, different energy monitoring systems, and we were able to pull that data and integrate it into a normalized platform, normalized data platform. And on top of that, add in other aspects around. So we've got the operational tech, we add in information technologies, we've got all the room booking data coming in. We're able to add in the IoT data, so adding additional sensing technology such as machine vision sensors and so on. And we're integrating 250,000 data metrics, and we're consuming that and storing that historically for analytical purposes every 60 seconds. The integration was over 25 different systems and IoT sources. And we were able to then, obviously, having cleansed that data into the normalized data environment, not only drive all the user experience outcomes that are standing up from the data as relevant to the users, but also now consider the operational users of the building from the same data sets and the same data stock. So moving forward with that data running in the back-end engines, such as FDD that Gary's called out on, or automation engines that are looking for when a meeting room becomes vacant early against a room booking to notify the room cleardowns team to go and address that room earlier, or to call the AV team because there's an issue being notified in the meeting room and it's just become made available, and they get in there now and return that room back to service before the business even notices the impact it's having or the disruption it's having against its meetings. Those engines are running constantly in the back end to drive through the workflows, to feed in and integrate to third-party CAFM systems or the AV bridge, to streamline all of those workflows within the building. And we're also able to render all that data from a checkpoint perspective back into the HTML5 dashboards, just to step you through a few of those. So from a user-centric perspective, focusing on what Deloitte wanted. They wanted to have particular people, such as energy managers, to have that visualization on top of the data sets in a consistent format. They had their HVAC support team, I think very similar to a graphic that Gary demonstrated to us earlier, cutting through the data and pulling out what was important to them, to be able to actually undertake monitoring of all the building, the 250,000 endpoints that we're collecting in the building in a consistent alarm visualization platform, to be able to serve up dashboards that were fit for purpose for the sustainability manager, allowing them to drill in and out of particular areas and key issues, to look at the different metrics of all the different sensors that are coming in, and these are from multiple different makes and sources of data, all cleansed into the platform. To then apply policy breaches, so standard policies they wanted to upkeep. They were able to look at those policy breaches and really drill into the events that were occurring in the building, which mattered. And then to visualize that data in different ways, so everything's overlaid. Everything has an XY referencing position against floor plates. We're able to overlay it to floor plans, then heat map against that data. And we can track and manage every endpoint against its positioning in the building, making it easy to maintain the estate of IoT, and against the power of scalability of going down a data digital twin approach rather than just endpoint configurations. All these devices are overlaid by the metadata of their objects rather than being positioned on a graphic. Data can be cut in different ways, so we're able to look at the same visualization, start blending data, hence the power really starts ramping up now. To be able to look at occupancy data and overlay that with maybe air quality data to see if there's a correlation between the occupancy patterns versus a room that's hot. So it might just be that they do need these two-person phone booths. It's just the fact that they're a bit too warm, and that's the issue. So we're able to actually blend some of this data sets together. And then we're able to call out, what really matters to the workplace utilization team. So, how much space is booked, how much isn't booked, where are people in the building, what desks are in use, what ones aren't, and take that sort of raw binary data now and actually pull that into heat mapping data, transforming it into, this example is actually showing toilet utilization, which is no different. It's just been viewed that way for the screenshot, but no different whether that's desks, height adjustable desks, or so on. We're seeing the patterns of how the building's used, and we're able to then call out what really matters around work utilization in the buildings, and identify the outliers and drive change through the building. They were able to change in their building one entire floor out of 14 after only 12 months of occupying the building, and they did that record break speed compared to what they would have done in any other environment, because they were it was a decision empowered by rich data. So thank you very much. I hope that was informative, and I'd like to pass you back over to Amanda.
Thank you very much for that informative presentation. Let me switch to my screen here and show you my conclusion slides. Okay, and now I'd like to talk to you about the Iconics Worldwide Customer Summit Transform 360. We recently rescheduled this in-person event to May 4th through 7th, 2021 at Foxwoods Resort and Casino in Connecticut. If you already signed up for the event and you'd signed up for the previous dates, we've just moved your registration already to the new dates, so no action needed on your part. If you haven't already signed up, I encourage you to do so. This event is going to be bigger and better in 2021. We have a number of exciting guest speakers lined up, as well as compelling demos to show you. If you register by April 19th, you can do so at iconics.com/transform360. We have a number of promotions that we put up on our social media pages from time to time, including complimentary registration promo codes. So I encourage you to follow us on social so you can see those and sign up. I really hope to see you all there at this live in-person event. I'd also like to share with you a number of on-demand webcast recordings that we have available at iconics.com/webcast. If you've enjoyed today's webcast, you can see the other topics that we have covered this year. And not only do we have these North American webcasts, but we also have a number of international versions as well. And with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the slide up here so that while I'm taking the questions, you can see contact information for our presenters, as well as our solutions sales specialists in our North American and international offices. So with that, I'm going to pull up our questions here. I've had, like I said, a number come in. Let's kick things off with Gary. The first question I have is for you. Can you tunnel into the building and program a controller remotely securely? I'm going to unmute you, Gary, so you can answer that. Go ahead. Gary, can you unmute yourself so you can answer this question? I don't know if you can hear me. If not, yep, there
okay,
you go.
Okay. Yes. So almost we always are able to tunnel into the various devices and sensors and control devices and get the information, monitor the information, and in almost all cases, if a customer wants it, we can command, change set points, and so forth. We cannot actually reprogram the devices. That's typically proprietary to the vendor, unless they support programming via the web, in which case we can launch a URL into that device, and we have done that on various occasions to so the user can change the programs from our screen.
Okay, thank you, Gary. And this next question, I'm going to have each of you answer it in order of who presented. So it's a good question. It's what does the pandemic change for smart building systems? And so I'd like to start with Gary to give a little input on your thoughts on that.
Very, very interesting question, and obviously personal opinion, and we don't know where this is going to end, but I think one thing that must be happening to all corporations is they're forced now and are seeing how well they can work remotely and how their businesses and their operations can continue to perform when people are working remotely. So I believe there's going to be a great increase in the amount of flex space and probably the lessening of the number of people required to drive in every day to a particular high rise. So the efficiency, the management of all that flexible space, I believe, is going to become much more important.
Okay, thanks, Gary. I don't know if you heard me, Clive. Would you mind commenting on that as well?
No, I think Gary's absolutely spot on. I think that's going to be one of the challenges placed on businesses to have that real-time information of exactly how their spaces are being utilized. If there is to be more remote working from home going forward, then obviously reduction in real estate capacity is called for and how that space is being utilized is going to be critical. I also use the example of Deloitte. You know, if you've got the ability within the buildings to be able to see where people have been, then that could be priceless in terms of you know, reacting to the challenges we've seen.
Okay, thanks, Clive. Andy, do you have anything to add to that?
Just minor. So yeah, obviously, I think it's going to be interesting to see how it relaxes some of data privacy legislation maybe that's out there. You know, the need to track where people go in buildings, in workspaces, could be of far greater significance and recognised in that way moving forward. I think also to add to the point of Gary made around, you know, the stress change of how the dynamics working from home versus in the office, and the impact that will have on flex space. You know, within the approach we've taken with apps, you know, the idea is that the experience starts from outside of the building. So the experience is part of the company. It's not about one building, it's about all buildings. And I think that's going to become more and more in play as again, to Gary's point of personal observation here, but you know, I think companies may well end up adapting a more flexible approach off the back of this, something they may not have tried if they weren't forced through it, but are now witnessing what can be achieved in these type of scenarios.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Next question I'm going to give to Clive. Can we offer this kind of BMS solutions to data center building? How can we minimize data loss while changeover system and redundancy configuration?
Well, that's a good question. I see no reason why we can't adapt the platform to the specifics of a data center. Depending on the level of communication you have to those subsystems within that data center, in order to maintain and preserve the uptime, you wouldn't really want to switch off the legacy system until you had proven and fully commissioned the new Iconics platform. I see no reason why that can't be achieved, but it would be dependent upon the infrastructure and the control equipment that we're connecting to be able to support comms to the old system as well as the Iconics new one being plumbed in. But I say I don't think that would be a problem. A good question. If you want to reach out to me later online, I'm happy to take that further.
Okay, thanks, Clive. Next question I'm going to give to Gary. Are you able to control equipment via building management systems?
Yes, we are. I mean, in many cases, we are the command and control system. The controllers out there might be, you know, from Johnson or Siemens or so forth, but the operators operate all of those systems from our dashboards.
Okay, thank you very much, Gary. And with that, we're coming up on an hour here, so I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We hope to see you on a future webcast. Thank you to our presenters today, Gary, Clive, and Andrew.